Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Bold and Beautiful's Most Wanted. As the suspect list narrows in Tom and Hollis deaths, truly shocking twist may reveal the killer. Bold and Beautiful's Deacon has big problems. Not only have two of his friends and colleagues perished suddenly in his restaurant in the past week or two, but his wife is about to be hauled in for questioning. Thankfully for the ex-con, none of us believe Shyla is guilty this time. So who is the real murderer? Join us as we take a look at the narrowing suspect list and reveal what would be a killer twist. While Tom could have had any number of enemies that Bold and Beautiful viewers didn't know about, the sudden death of Hollis puts a finer point on things. Looking at who would have reason to eliminate not only Star at his comeback show, but also the bartender who found his backpack after the fact, certainly narrows the focus. Unless Deacon owes someone big money and they're picking off his employees one by one as a means of intimidation, it seems obvious that the murders are tied to whatever Tom knew, and the evidence of it, which presumably Hollis found in the backpack he always kept so closely guarded. It's safe to assume that it somehow figures into Luna's paternity, given that Tom was absolutely certain that he was her biological father and alluded to letters he had sent to Poppy that were returned. If Hollis found these letters, whoever ended Tom to keep the secret must also have been forced to silence Hollis forever. Poppy seems an obvious choice. She had the motive and was on the scene the night that someone messed with Tom's drink. She had also left Bill's house the night that Hollis died. Would she have access to drugs to slip into their drinks? 2 words, special mints. That said, Poppy seems almost too obvious, and we know that is a tell. Plus, she seemed genuinely shocked and sad to hear of Tom's death. Jack described her as a gentle soul, and she just isn't that. Cold. Unlike her sister, Leigh is being written as unfeeling enough to have done the deeds, and she would have had access to the drugs. Since she and Finn seem to be the only 2 doctors at the hospital, she also seems to have control of the autopsy reports, which would be handy if you were the killer. That said, it gets a little complex where motive is concerned. There's no obvious reason for her to want either Tom or Hollis dead. Some have suggested that Jack may be Luna's real father, but Tom coming forward as the dad kinda threw a monkey wrench into that theory. That said, if Tom believed he was the father and was about to cause a stink over it, which Leigh knew would lead to the truth about Jack and Poppy being exposed, she might have decided to nip that in the bud. Hollis learning the truth made him collateral damage. But there's another theory involving Leigh. Aside from Steffi, no one was more upset or traumatized by Shyla's latest return. She could have killed Deacon's staff to frame Shyla and send her back to prison. The trouble with this angle is that we'd have to believe Leigh took 2 lives on the off chance Shyla wouldn't be able to come up with an alibi and exonerate herself. In a visit to Finn's office, Jack told his son how much he admired Poppy and added, "There's nothing I wouldn't do for her." While that sounds pretty hentai, it's probably a red herring. That said, he also had a connection to Hollis as he mentioned drinking with the bartender before Tom's show that night at Il Giardino. Therefore, if he was the one who showed up unexpectedly in the dark, Hollis would have known him. Jack could be in cahoots with Poppy, or working on her behalf, to keep the truth of Luna's paternity a secret, but if he's guilty he's a sociopath because he's incredibly chill about the whole thing. Bill could have figured out that Tom was Luna's father and decided to off the guy, and Hollis after he found out. But he'd be more likely to turn nasty and kick Poppy out of the house than to go to those lengths. Justin could have done the research, discovered the truth about Luna's paternity, and decided to take care of Bill's problem as a means of mending fences with his former boss and friend. But again, Barbara's presence at Tom's show could have just been a one-off, so as to round out the suspect list. What if Luna, suspicious of her mother's interaction with the guy who delivered the pizza to Bill's house, looked up the name Tom Star and figured out that he was really her father? It's hard to believe the soft-spoken fashionista would kill someone, but never say never. She bonded with Bill, who is about to adopt her, and may have wanted to keep that new life at all costs. But you're probably thinking, Luna was friends with Hollis and was brokenhearted over his death. This could have been an act and / or guilt over having to end his life because he stumbled on the truth. The sun set over the Forrester mansion, casting long shadows that crept across the polished marble floors. Inside, tension was palpable. The usually bustling house was eerily silent, save for the murmurs of a few gathered in the living room, their faces etched with worry and suspicion. Tom and Hollis were dead, and the mystery of their deaths hung over everyone like a dark cloud. Tom, the dashing but controversial new designer at Forrester Creations, had ruffled more than a few feathers with his unconventional ideas and abrasive demeanor. Hollis, a charming but enigmatic journalist, had been working on an exposé about the fashion industry's hidden secrets, including some very damaging information about several Forrester family members. Their untimely deaths had shaken everyone to their core, leaving a trail of questions and very few answers. Ridge Forrester stood by the fireplace, his jaw clenched as he tried to process the whirlwind of events. His mind raced, sifting through every interaction, every slight argument, and every secret that had been unearthed in the days leading up to the tragedy. Nearby, Brooke Logan watched him, her eyes filled with concern. She knew Ridge was under immense pressure, not just as the head of Forrester Creations, but also as a father and a protector of his family's legacy. "I can't believe this is happening," Ridge muttered, running a hand through his hair. "2 people dead, and we have no idea who could have done this." "Whoever it is, they're close to us," Brooke said softly, her voice trembling. "They know our secrets, our weaknesses. This wasn't a random act of violence. It was planned." Steffi Forrester, standing by the window, turned to face her father and Brooke. "We need to consider everyone who had a motive," she said, her voice steady but with a hint of fear. "Tom was not well liked, and Hollis was digging into our pasts. Any one of us could have had a reason to want them gone." As the list of suspects grew, so did the tension among the Forrester clan. Eric Forrester, the patriarch, sat in his favorite armchair, his usually calm demeanor replaced by a rare display of agitation. "We need to keep our heads," he said, trying to assert some semblance of order. "Fighting among ourselves will only make things worse." Thomas Forrester, who had his own dark history and had been struggling to regain the trust of his family, stood up, his eyes blazing with determination. "We need to get to the bottom of this, for everyone's sake. We can't let fear tear us apart." *****. Across town, at the LA Police Department, Detective Alex Sanchez pored over the evidence gathered from the crime scenes. Both deaths had been staged to look like accidents, but there were subtle signs that pointed to foul play. A broken champagne glass, a misplaced piece of jewelry, and a cryptic note found in Tom's apartment were the only clues he had to go on. Sanchez knew that the key to solving the case lay within the Forrester family and their circle. He had been involved in their affairs before and understood the complex web of relationships and secrets that bound them together. As he reviewed his notes, a knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. "Detective, we have another witness," an officer said, leading a young woman into the room. It was Zoe Buckingham, her face pale and eyes wide with fear. "I didn't want to come forward," Zoe began, her voice shaking. "But I saw something the night Tom died. I saw someone leaving his apartment." Sanchez leaned forward, his interest piqued. "Who did you see, Zoe?" She hesitated, glancing around nervously. I saw Quinn Fuller." The room fell silent as Sanchez processed this new information. Quinn Fuller, the wife of Eric Forrester, had always been a wild card. Known for her manipulative nature and volatile temper, she had more than once crossed the line in her quest for power and control. Back at the Forrester mansion, Quinn's phone buzzed with a message. She glanced at it and quickly slipped it back into her pocket, her expression unreadable. She knew that the walls were closing in, and she needed to act fast. She excused herself from the tense gathering and retreated to her room, where she began to make a series of frantic phone calls. Downstairs, Ridge and Brooke continued to discuss the possible suspects. Quinn has always been unpredictable, Ridge said. But would she go this far? She's capable of anything, Brooke replied, especially if she felt threatened by Tom or exposed by Hollis. As the night wore on, the Forrester family members each retreated to their corners, consumed by their thoughts and fears. In the darkness, secrets festered and alliances shifted. What none of them knew was that the true killer was closer than they realized, lurking in the shadows and pulling the strings.